Oh, I have no camera. Oh, hello. There's my camera now. No, it's all good. Already starting with the tech issues, but speaking of the tech will be featured later on tonight with yours truly and Blazing Ace Nelson. But hey, guys, welcome back to another class session of the Gaming Academy with your headmaster GQAzndood, along with the faculty here that I'll be introducing shortly. Hopefully, you had a great week. It is February 11th, second week of February, second month of the year. And man, things are popping off here and there, and games are just coming out left and right already. So get your backlogs ready, get your wallets ready. We've got lots to talk about. So thank you for coming on tonight. If it's your first time here, check us out on YouTube or Twitch via at GQAzndood. But yes, gamers, geeks, and legends in the making, welcome to the Gaming Academy. I'm your host, the headmaster, GQAzndood, here to level you up with some epic knowledge and good vibes. Tonight's class is a critically acclaimed adventure featuring another segment of This Week in Gaming History, because knowing the past helps when you respond smarter and better every time, kind of like in Dark Souls. Another episode of The Tech, where we break down strategy, technique, and how to grind like a pro with Blazing Ace Nelson, and Quick Bytes with the Tragically Elite, for when you need the fast travel to the latest news, he can provide those bit by bit. And also check this out, the most fun we've had reviewing retro gaming ad showcases. They'll have you saying, how the hell did they even market this thing? Hey, the 80s and 90s were definitely a different time. So buckle up, whether you're a speedrunner in life or just enjoying the scenic route. There's something here for everyone, and maybe something for you. So let's press start and power through this class together. We appreciate you always. Let me introduce the faculty here, starting with the Blazing, the Ace, the tech master himself, Blazing Ace Nelson. Oh, there he goes.
Oh man! Oh, if this is setting the pace for tonight's class, oh, we're gonna have a good.
It's the weather. It's like super cold.
Oh God! Don't remind me, man. I am not. No, I don't play with them Sub-Zero demons. Not even in Mortal Kombat, man.
No way. Yeah, but you got the fire in the name, so hopefully you bring that to the podcast tonight and warm us all up here.
That's the plan. That is the plan. Anyways, for everybody that's watching right now and everybody watching after the fact, welcome back, class. Good to see you. I hope you all had yourselves a fantastic week, and y'all might want to strap on your gloves because the tech, we're gonna be throwing blows tonight.
That's right. Also, Dynasty Warriors. Yeah. Also, shout out to Miss Razzo in the chat. Hello. It says hi, Ace. Also, appreciate that. Also, we cannot forget the man with the plan, the guy that brings us the quick bits and the quick bites of news and industry, the Tragically Elite, aka my boy Nicholas.
Hey team, how's it going? It's cold.
It's cold.
It's cold.
What's the weather out down there, Nick? It's cold.
It's cold.
It's
weather up here. I'm just above you, and it's still like it's colder up here.
I have been wearing my toque and my scarf, and I was like, I haven't done this since I lived in Chicago, so it's very cold here for sure. Colder than normal. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, man, I don't like that it's like under 20 degrees and there's no snow. It's just dry and cold.
Yeah, it's dry, cold, and at night I feel it howling because I live like 2 floors below you. So yeah, it's pretty rough.
That's actually just me outside. Sorry about that.
I'm below street level, pretty much in the.
Trying to stay warm.
But yeah, man, we're here to bring the heat to the audience as always. We got a lot of good stuff tonight. A lot of new stuff as far as visuals go. Like I said, I want to always bring value and changes to the podcast whenever I can. And tonight I've added more sounds, more graphics than ever before. So I'm pretty excited to use this. But this is probably why I'm a little bit off on a bunch of stuff. So but anyway,
you leveled up.
Yeah, I leveled up and I'm confused. Apparently, don't know what to do with this power. But as always,
you gotta allocate them skill points, man.
Yeah, well, apparently it's not tonight. They're still in the bank. So we're gonna
he put it all in the charisma. He put it all in the riz, none in the intelligence.
No, all frozen. I gotta level up the heat a little bit. So, but as always, we're gonna check out some retro gaming ads here. And
yo, check this out.
Okay, so a little bit longer that one. So yeah, so we got this new slide for y'all. Yeah, I've been kind of messing around with image creators, and it's been pretty fun. So, fun fact: I was like, when I was creating this, I said, make something retro gaming, fun, and that's what apparently AI thinks that's what it came up with. So,
Oh, Andre, we know Bloodsport. I think for like a couple times when James and I were working together, we brought up Bolo Young a few times.
he was the buffest Asian man in the '80s. It's all I
He
gotta
was Asian Hercules, wasn't he?
say.
Mhm.
Basically,
I think yeah, that was like the billing of it too. Dude
he
was
was
swole.
like, because like the stereotype in the '80s that we're all kind of lean and skinny like Bruce Lee, but like he was like the buffest dude I've ever seen. Like, also a fun fact: Bloodsport did not make it in theaters. It was a straight DVD movie, so that's
And
pretty.
it's also a complete fabrication.
It's not real. It's all in your head. But yeah, so if you're new to the channel, this segment is where we talk about just crazy stuff you guys want you to check out. Lately, we've been having a lot of fun with retro gaming ads, and there's a lot of wild stuff out there back in the day, and we're here to bring that back out. And hopefully, if you guys see something familiar, just say it in chat, and hopefully, you don't lose your mind. So.
When it came to advertising and just the hobby and the industry in general back in the late 80s all the way through the mid 90s, they put the wild in Wild West.
It is absolutely like berserk out there. There was a lot of like stabbing and poking at each other's in the competition, So what Nintendo does or what Sega does, Nintendo don't, like all that stuff and blast processing, and it's just back and forth, and there's a little bit of cuteness behind it because they're fighting for our attention, right? And I haven't really seen that lately, so
Well,
I
it
miss that.
wasn't even the war stuff either. Like we've been talking about recently. I know a lot of times we talk about we think about it, we think of like the console wars, the Sega versus Nintendo. But even outside of that versus, like we were talking about the GBA for a while there, what the SP ads were doing, just crazy, like random stuff. It's just like, what the hell is this thing? But it made you stop. It made you go like, okay, well now I remember a Game Boy Advance SP because of a kid on the couch with a ferret in his pants.
Yeah,
All right.
absolutely. Yeah,
But it
that's
brings to
wild.
mind one thing though, and it was that key phrase that you said. They were
Ferret in the
fighting
pants?
for our attention.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it was the companies were fighting for our attention as opposed to,
Blaming us.
approaching it as though they are owed our attention.
Oh, there
Yeah,
you
well, I
go.
mean, that was the time when the industry was blowing up so big.
Mhm.
Every single person wanted to get in front of you. Everything got big, and you
Mhm.
had to do something to set yourself apart. And like we saw with a couple of the Sega Saturn stuff, like just like some of the catchphrases just did not land. So you're just trying what you can.
Yep. And I'm actually going to throw up a catchphrase on the screen right now, courtesy of the Tragically Elite here. I think he'll admire this ad.
Oh yeah, the block. Yeah, the block.
Pretty subtle, minimalistic. But also, I always remembered these ads, right? Because like when you're a kid, you're expecting like a spectacle. When I saw this, I was like, oh, it's pretty simple, pretty straight to the point, right? And it's a crossword puzzle.
Yeah, I was gonna say it. I remember like always taking an extra second to read these because I'm like, what the hell is it trying to say? Like I had to have a cipher, and then like, oh no, it's just got it. Okay, it just took me
Yeah.
that extra second. But again, you're getting to think about it. You're pausing. Now you're like, okay, well now I'm just gonna remember.
Well,
Welcome to the next level.
that actually is like probably one of the best like memorable statements for a gamer back in the day. Welcome to the next level. It's like it means so many things,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, back before I said stuff like you leveled up, like before it
Yeah,
became commonplace. Like this was like, oh, they know it. They're gamers
yeah.
too.
They get it. Oh my god, they're speaking our language, Because like back in the '80s and '90s, like video games was still kind of like this niche thing that only certain kids played, right? Where the nerds, right, wasn't really like meant for everybody just yet, you
It
know.
became pop culture.
Yeah, no, and I think that's just why I celebrate. Like, it's good to be alive at in this point in life because like it's just so mainstream. Everybody's gaming these days, right?
Yeah.
But back then, it was catered to a specific market, like super specific. If
It
anything,
kind of reminds me a little bit like you look at other industries too, like right now with anime, it's like it's gotten so big. Overseas sales, so US sales have now like start outpacing sales in Japan for some of these properties because it's just become pop culture over here. Things like Freerun that came out last year blew
Yeah.
up. It was everyone was watching. People that I know don't really watch anime, like it showed up on their feeds and they started watching it. So kind of reminds me of that. It kind of reminds me for us locally up here in the Pacific Northwest, like the craft brew scene. There's a beer for everyone. There's a flavor or type for everyone. Same for games. There just became so many games for so many different people. Like
Yeah.
it's going to be part of that pop culture.
And I think this is why I always celebrate. Like, if you don't like it, don't have to play it. There's always a game for somebody out there. Like,
Yeah,
it's
find your
just
flavor.
yeah, and there's just so many games out right now. Like, if you don't like something, just move on to the next one. Like, you have a backlog. I know people have backlogs for sure, for sure.
Oh, and it's so easy to get in and out of so many different games nowadays
Oh
with
my
Game
god, yeah.
Pass. We lamented losing demos, but there's just so many like free to play games out there. Just kind of like Wet Your Whistle. There's so many mobile games. Like the mobile market's so massive. You know, the first taste is free for a lot of those games and how they make their money. We actually talk. It's funny. We always talk and do this like lead up to our show, and there's always one or two callbacks later on when we get to the news of just kind of like calling back to this point. So keep this stuff in the back of your head. Don't lose faith. Players.
Players, gamers. All right, the next ad I'm going to throw up is an ad probably not a lot of people have seen. I'm just warning you guys out there about this one here. All
I
right,
feel like I'm reading highlights for kids, like
yeah,
the iconography, man.
or Mad Libs.
Yeah.
Mad Libs. So first of all, chat, how many of you know what a TurboGrafx 16 is? I mean, I do. I wanted one. But one console house, I had to give up my Nintendo, and I was about to do that. So, but yeah, this was the third wheel in the console war, if I'm what I remember, between Sega and Nintendo. And these guys were, I think, to me, were like they weren't really like trying to compete; they were trying to be their own thing. A lot of their games were very like Japanese, right? From what I recall, and I don't think anybody around me had a TurboGrafx 16. It was just not popular, you know.
It was expensive. It was prohibitively expensive.
I mean, what was that $99? Like,
When it
and
first
also I'm
came
trying
out
to
for the
remember.
TurboGrafx?
It says here for only 99. But this could have been like year two, because Bonk was a release, like system release, but Zonk was not, and that's why it says free Bonk's Adventure, and I think that's why it's like the value is here. Because I do remember it being like maybe 200, because the Nintendo was 200 on first release. From what I recall.
Oh, yeah. I'm thinking of a different console. Sorry, because that came out. That was like it released in '89 in the U.S.
Yeah. For less than $100, you can get a TurboGrafx, and just to get you started, we'll throw in a Bonk's Revenge, which is $50 value, and then you can have less than a penny.
This was right about that time they started doing, because I remember carts, like the little, like they almost look like key cards, and you slot it in. They had a actual super like CD-ROM attachment for this thing too.
Yeah, that was TurboGrafx CD.
Oh
from what I remember, and that was when Sega CD came out, they wanted their own thing.
Hey, and now you can get one for the low price pre-owned of like $450. So,
I mean, I think it's the same price with inflation. So technically, it's the same.
If you do want to live in nostalgia, by the way, I did check out the mini version of this they released a couple years ago. I want to say, yeah, it was actually pretty fun. Some good games on it.
Yeah, I think I managed to snag one while it was out, and I'm trying to find another controller online. They're kind of expensive, so. But it is what it is, man. I mean, how many TurboGrafx systems are there out right now? So I'm gonna throw one here for the sports fans and see what they see here. Check that guy out. I remember this ad.
Boom shakalaka.
This ad was just like everywhere. This was the Mortal Kombat of sports games, like it was marketed by the same company. Yeah. So, and I don't know. It was just like it was like the thing at the time, like this was the basketball game everybody wanted to play. And this was like the beginning of like arcade sports games, in my opinion. Right, the 2v2, like Blitz, right? Mm-hmm. They even had hockey at some point. So,
I played that. It was NHL Hits.
Yeah, NHL Hits. Yeah, that was really good.
I
They even
love
had the
that game.
football one too, the soccer one. I think it was like Soccer Slam or something like that. I can't remember.
I loved NHL Hits just because you could put in your own name that has like phonetic, like you could type, you could pick something and the announcer would call out your like cool name that you put in there.
Yeah,
Some
yeah,
really
Oh,
funny
that's cool.
ones too.
your
But
moniker.
yeah, yeah, it was like I think one of them was like 101011, like it went binary, and the announcer had to call it out every time that person did something and scored. But yeah, man, Jam, I mean, we grew up in Chicago. I mean, in the '90s.
Yeah. Why
It
can't
was
I pick Jordan at home?
Yeah, I mean, he made it worldwide with
Yeah,
the way that the NBA just blew up during that time. It became just an international sensation. It felt like overnight, especially during the Dream Team, the '92 Olympics. So Jam came out
yeah,
at the right time. They started having some of this name recognition right when the NBA was starting to blow up and be in more households anyway. This came
Yeah,
along.
mhm.
It was in arcades, and then it came to the home consoles.
yeah,
This was
especially like
like,
especially back when Shaquille O'Neal first hit the scene in Miami,
oh yeah.
and he was over there breaking
No,
backboards, and
wasn't it Orlando?
yo,
He was in Orlando,
yeah, he
right?
was in
Yeah,
Orlando
Orlando.
first.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't think you could like those two players, Jordan and Shaq, you couldn't play them in the home version. You had to only play them in the arcade, I think. I don't know why, but I mean, it could have been some licensing. Could have been just too expensive for home console
That's a
games,
possibility.
and
They've been
but
holding out for more money.
yeah, and I remember playing like the Super Nintendo basketball game called Run and Gun. Shout out to chat if you guys know what that one is. And if you pick Chicago Bulls, Jordan is just a black dude with 23. You couldn't say Jordan, like it was literally like player 23 on there. So but you know who it was. He had like max stats. So yeah, but you weren't allowed to call Jordan. All right, so here's another fun one here. I will save the best one for last, but this one's pretty great in my opinion. I also remember this ad everywhere.
We have your game.
Yes.
I
Yeah,
just remember the cover every single time. The dude with the shiv, just the way he's got that, like it's so cool with the sleeves
Alex
rolled up
Ryan.
too, man.
Well, I learned that River City and Technos originated in California, like Chris's Cupertino right here, right? And Technos America. So like they kind of made it like California street fighting. like schoolyard fighters, right? So this kind of reminded me of that. So and little did we know it was the what is that Kunio and what's the series called? Ace, you know this.
Yeah, the Kunio Niketsukun series.
Yeah, it's pretty much translated to River City in the U.S. So, arguably, one of the first action RPGs that you could come across when you're a kid, and a lot of people don't know that because they don't think of leveling up in this game. They think of just kind of fighting through like Double Dragon, right? But in actuality, well, you actually level up your character by beating up schoolboys and taking their lunch money and buying books and eating food.
I mean, one
So
really cool thing to call out about this too, that game was open world. It was non-linear.
yeah, yeah. Would you argue that this is like Yakuza?
No, there's not enough Majima everywhere. There's no mahjong. There's no like questionable cabaret clubs that you go to. It doesn't have enough
There's
of the
not enough
crazy.
casual insanity.
Yeah,
I do.
it doesn't have the over the top bit, but
I did like the variety of gangs that you fought. Like they were like, oh, it's the serpents turf,
yeah.
like. Also, if you guys spoilers by the way, I mean it's only like a 40-year-old game, but
Oh no.
when you get to RCH River City High, the two guys that you fight in the doorstep are the Dragon Twins, and as soon as you fight them, the Double Dragon theme shows up, which is kind of cute. So
Yo,
because
Andres
they were
got it right. There's no Mr. Libido. That's the big loss.
no, Mr. Libido in this game was that one guy that like wouldn't die. His name was Clyde or something, and he showed up like 4 times in the whole game. Like you kill him and he'd be dead, and then like 2 screens later he'd show up like you thought you killed me, didn't you? And you do like 4 more times.
He just needs
So
the
that-
weird dance. And
Yeah.
got it.
Yeah, there's no weird Fortnite dancing in the River City Ransom just yet.
It's a loss.
It's Great game. And River City Girls, clearly, like, this game is inspired retro gaming and modern
And
gaming
that's a
as well.
great game, by the way, too. If
Yeah,
you slept on that one,
on
that's
my
actually
list.
really, really good.
It's on my list. But yeah, the next one, I hope a lot of people remember. This one's for Sega, but the one I had it for Super Nintendo. All right, and props to chat and to you guys if you know exactly what this is. So, and right there, stop playing with yourself. So,
Oh
uh,
man.
I had this for the Super Nintendo, and if you guys chat, if you don't know what this is, what we're looking at, this is the first time you could play other people on the internet. It's kind of crazy for what is this? A Super Nintendo or Genesis, right? You plug in your phone and you play other people that have X band as well. It's insane.
I love the like 80s, 90s as hell, like washed out images they use too.
So,
That's how you know in
oh,
the future. Now you're playing for real.
yeah, you're
Right.
playing on the X band network, so you make like your profile, right? And I wish I could zoom in, but like you make you can choose this image and fill out your profile and type it in, or use your controller. But fun fact, I do remember playing this on Killer Instinct because it worked on Killer Instinct and Mario Kart. Killer Instinct worked really well. And there was this guy named the Ace Man. I'm not even kidding you. The Ace Man, and his profile was like, think about what's that one game where you're like a detective and it's a Nintendo game. It's like a first person Nintendo game where you're like, it's like Shadowgate, but you're like is it Nightshade? No, it's not Nightshade.
No,
But
but I know which one you're talking about.
yeah, so his profile photo was that, like, it looked like a shady dude, right? And he would like clobber me.
Golgo 13, is it?
No, he
That was
looks like
the
he's wearing a hat and a trench coat. It was produced by Ultra
first person.
Games. Yeah, I think you wake up like in a bathtub when you start the game.
Nice.
Yeah,
Does that say it was? I can't see it too well. Does that say it's like $8 a month, $7.95 or something like that?
yeah, $7.95 a month. You get 32 free Connect credits on X Band Network. Connect
Wow,
credits, meaning like, you can connect with somebody. That's a credit. They're pretty much quarters,
man,
right? That's nuts.
they were
Can you imagine?
microtransactioning the hell out of that very early.
Yeah, I was like, can you imagine this now? Like they're just like applying your connections now. That's crazy. But yeah, this was the hypest thing ever. Especially like I don't have any siblings. I don't really have anybody to play with. So that sounds really sad, but that is the reality of it. Playing people across the country was super cool, right? On fighting games, and that was my jam at the time. Fighting games. I think also Weapon Lord worked on this also. So it was like super fun, and I definitely saved like 3 months of allowance trying to get this thing when I was a
Yeah.
kid. So
Priorities, man.
yeah, right. But yeah, that is check this out. Yeah. Anybody take any shots for where that comes from? No. That is the end theme of TJ Combo and Killer Instinct when you beat somebody up. So, but yeah, all right.
I know that sounded familiar.
A lot of the stuff you'll hear tonight is going to sound very familiar. So, but yeah, as we got a whole laundry list of history to talk to you about. So let's go ahead and move on to our next segment.
Oh
This
yeah.
week in gaming history.
Just that sound just a little bit.
No, that's good. You gotta wake you up. If you're falling asleep, it'll wake you up. So, but yeah, so this week in gaming history, if it's your first time here, we cover from Sunday to Saturday of what goes down in this week in gaming history. So let's get rolling, starting with February 9th. If it ever loads. All right, there we go. All right, so the game that came out way too early, too advanced for the time, Evolve came out on February 9th on the PC in 2015. Does anybody remember Evolve?
I remember
do.
seeing ads for it. But
I remember playing this. I played it at launch. I played it
Same.
at PAX before it came out. I played it the open beta, and I played it at launch because I love Turtle Rock Studios.
Awesome.
Or
Yeah,
love. I don't know if you can say that anymore.
my thing on this was it was Monster Hunter before I got into Monster Hunter. because it was 4 hunters versus one giant kaiju, pretty much one monster. Ace, you've never played this?
Mm-mm.
Oh man, this is a first-person asymmetrical game, kind of similar to Dead by Daylight, right? Where one is the killer and the 4 survivors. But in this case, you have 4 hunters, and they all have different classes, right? One's a healer, one's a tank, one's DPS, right? And the monster, it's called Evolve because you're in when you're the monster, you can go around the map collecting like DNA, and then your monster evolves to a harder creature. And if you get to level 3, you pretty much win because the guys can't kill you.
Oh,
Yeah.
And so like it's a pretend monster hunter, but one of you gets to play the monster.
okay.
Yeah. It's kind of like it's. I don't know if you remember because this is some stuff that came up recently, but Fable. You remember Fable? What was it? Fable Legends. It was kind of the same idea where it'd be like the heroes versus the villain, and you would randomly go into a lobby and pop in. You could be the big monster and you got to survive that, or you could be one of the survivors and you got to choose your character who was tied to the class. Turtle Rock was the team behind a lot of like multiplayer success, like Left 4 Dead, Left 4 Dead 2. They were known for that. So it played a lot like Left 4 Dead or Team Fortress E kind of thing. They had that background, but it was you against this monster. It was a take on it. I remember for me at least, there wasn't enough like there was a lot of balance issues right out of the gate that people had with it. It sucked to play the monster, or the monster would get like such a buff and then get to level 3 so quickly if someone knew what they were doing that it sucked to play as the survivors. Like it was just so wildly like
unbalanced,
inconsistent with its gameplay. It had a lot of promise, but you kept playing the same maps and there was always the same kaiju because there's only a couple at launch if I remember
There's
right.
3, I think.
Yeah,
there's
three.
But and Nick said it exactly right. I think Turtle Rock had issues with balancing the game. That was the main concern, and I think at the time too they were pushing this to be really like on the esports scene, right? And like, but if you think about it, if it's a team game versus one dude, that is kind of like 4 minds versus one, right? So it's a little bit harder to do a team game on an asymmetrical type game. But if I feel like if they really balance this game out, this game could come back now as a free to play game, like 100%, and then load it up with like whatever season pass, whatever you got to do it now.
Hey man, I put some time into some other games that were not as good as this one was. Like it had promise.
Yeah, and it looked good. Like I like the monsters' looks. Yeah, it looked great, and this is why I say it was a game that came out too early. I don't think people were ready for this game just yet. But at the same time, like there wasn't a lot of games like it. Like Dead by Daylight wasn't even a thing yet, and I don't think there were a lot of asymmetrical multiplayer games out at the moment.
Yeah, but to call back to it, like you said, the balance being the issue with Dead by Daylight. There's a sense of balance there. There's a strategy to it, and there's a way to get through it and out of it. But Evolve did not feel like that out of the gate. The cool thing too, Ace was like one of the monsters, like a Cthulhu monster, and the way that like kaiju handled and went through its evolution and fought was completely different from the other one. So the tricky thing is you get dropped in and you'd potentially be the bad guy, you'd be the kaiju, but it'd be one of 3 and they all play very different. So you'd have to know every single class and every single kaiju, whether you were for or against it. It was just a lot, and then not a lot of people knew what to do. That's why it kind of felt so unbalanced. It's kind of the same thing that happened with Concord when we were talking about that. The people that liked it most were the ones that were after like the actual like competitive nature of it, the competitive scene for it. When you really dig into it, some people liked it. It was the same for Evolve, but the amount of time you had to put into it to get to that point, it was a giant hurdle, and so it just it wasn't sticky for people. They just bounced off it.
Facts. All right, other games that came out. And on the 9th, speaking of TurboGrafx 16, we have Military Madness in 1989, Bahamut Lagoon in the Super Nintendo in Japan in 1996, Wing Commander 4, The Price of Freedom on the
Mark
PC.
Hamill.
That's right. That's the one of his first VA, right? Or no, he's actually in the game. In 1996, Sid Meier's Alpha Centauri, PC in 1999, right before Y2K. and Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles on the GameCube in 2004. Lots of games coming out on the game GBA and GameCube that year, if I remember. Metroid Zero Mission on GBA in 2004. Bioshock 2 on the PS3, 360, and PC in 2010. My personal favorite out of this list, Dante's Inferno on the PS3 and 360 in 2010. Arslan Warriors of Legend on the PC, PS3, PS4, Xbox One in 2016. And if you guys don't know what that is, that was a anime that was remade and turned into a Dynasty Warriors game. Firewatch on the PC came out in 2016, and little obscure action RPG from Konami, because they still release games. Getsu Fumaden, Undying Moon, and the Switch in 2022. So, any of those games, you guys kind of like, oh yeah, I remember playing that, whatnot.
I remember going back and actually, firing up my ZSNEF simulator and sitting down and playing Bahamut Lagoon back when one of the first English translations for it came out.
Yeah,
and the sheer undertaking that actually went into translating that game, and the fact that just recently, I think like last year, the translation for it was finally completed.
Jeez.
Like it's
wow.
I mean, it's a labor of love, but the game itself is damn solid.
Yeah, and that begs to ask the question, why wasn't it localized in America, right? Was it because it was too complicated? Maybe the themes weren't really like localized friendly or US friendly, right, at the time?
Yeah, more than likely it wasn't particularly localization friendly.
Yeah, it wasn't Final Fantasy, right? So that's why they didn't give up on that. But yeah, Military Madness was like one of the first strategy games I ever played. They actually recently, I think they re-released that on the PlayStation, called Military Madness Nectaris on the PlayStation 1. So that's super cool.
Speaking of strategy, was my pick on this one, which was Sid Meier's Alpha Centauri. I loved that.
Yeah,
I loved 4X games. It's so good. And I remember seeing a big box PC copy come into the store one time too, and I had to like rebuy it because it was just so much like childhood nostalgia.
Would you say that's like outer space Civ?
Well, yeah, because it's Sid Meier, the guy who created Civ. So yeah, it's exactly that. It's in space.
Civilization. That'd be great. He just makes his own Sid everything,
He probably tripped over himself and said that one time, and it just everyone's like, no, nah.
Nah, bro. Little tidbit here. Back in 2005, Tecmo files a federal suit in Chicago against members of an internet forum dedicated to hacking their titles. NinjaHackit.net created and hosted illegal content. Like alternative costumes for the characters. So this was the beginning of the mod scene, is what you're saying.
Yeah, yeah, that was a totally crazy thing that popped up in that kind of like history buff kind of thing. It's like, wait, they sued someone called NinjaHacker.net? Like, I mean, cool, great name. Not going to fly under the radar.
Yeah. I mean, it's so straightforward.
Right, but it was that
funny thing is,
they were like hosting alternative costumes, like that's what they're doing, and that was the illegal content. Can't have that,
right? The funny thing is, I actually remember stumbling across that site a couple of times back.
I'm pretty sure I have too.
Oh, one of the OGs. Don't let that out. Tecmo's listening.
It was like message received. Blazing Ace Nelson's next.
Take him out.
And then Ryu Hayabusa.
Okay, if Ryu shows up at the door, I'm folding. He's like, nah, man. Go ahead, do what you got to do.
All right, let's move on to the 10th here. Okay. It's going. No, I didn't click on it. Did I? I did not. I'm weird. Man, we're just doing some weird stuff tonight. Anyway, one of my favorite games on the PlayStation was Vagrant Story. Back in 2000, it was released in Japan. I think it was 01 in America, but one of the most unique I would say action RPGs. I would say it's more RPGs than action RPG. It was very tactical. It caused you to target specific parts of the monster, right? And it had durability. It was like very too deep for its own good at the time. Very unique because like it was a Shakespearean story. And that's what made it really stand out to me when I first kind of looked into this game. Like I wanted something different. And I don't know, it was like, look at the character design as well.
Oh
yeah,
my god.
for me, it's the haircut.
Yeah, I mean, the higher the hair, the closer to God, right? Like that's usually how they work. Usually works in anime.
A little, a little additional trivia for the folks that probably haven't been able to catch it up until recently, but Vagrant Story is actually attached to Final Fantasy Tactics, Final Fantasy 11 and 12. It's part of the the Ivalice Alliance series of games from Squaresoft.
Oh, really? That's cool. I didn't know that.
Yep, same universe, same setting, and the character design team that worked on Tactics and on Vagrant Story
need to toss up a emote for the more you know. He's dropping that knowledge on you,
right?
That's right.
That character design team.
Yeah, that makes sense.
They've gone on to team up with Cygames and have been working on a series that is probably very familiar to a lot of us here right now on campus.
That's awesome, dude. No, that's really cool because I'm actually like a secret. Well, it's not a secret, but like I think Cygames is like one of those like developers. I'm like, you guys are actually have a lot of talent over there, but y'all don't do much. Like that's. I feel like that's them. It's like Daniel Day-Lewis of gaming. He does one crazy movie. He gets like 20 Oscars, disappears in the
and then just does his thing. Refuses to elaborate further and leaves.
My work here is done.
Yeah, he's like, I just acted. It was great. And then next movie they call him, So it's kind of wild that Cygames does that. But yeah, other titles for the 10th, Dragon Warrior 3 on a Nintendo in 1988 in Japan. And keep in mind, folks, the remaster re-release is coming out, I think, in March via Square. Pre-order that today, and I think it's a good pickup. Alex Kidd in the Enchanted Castle on the Genesis in 1989 in Japan. The ever so treacherous Mario 64 on the 64 in 1997. Champions of Norath on the PS2 in 2004. Nightshade on the PlayStation 2 in 2004. Fear 2, oh bless, Fear 2, Project Origin came out on the PC, PS3, and Xbox 360 in 2009. And of course, who can forget Oni-Chanbara Bikini Squad on the 360 in 2009 as well. So, Bikini Squad though. No, I'm kidding. What do you call this? Okay, we all know Mario 64. That is pretty much the party game in 1997. I would say one of my favorite picks on here was Champions of Norath on the PS2. Last time we talked about Return to Arms. Mm-hmm. And this was the first one. Return to Arms is the sequel. This kind of fell into the same category of like are they games similar to Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance 1 and 2, Brotherhood of Steel. Champions of Norath was their version of Dark Alliance. Like these two games literally came out like side to side pretty much.
Yeah, one of the few couch co-op games. Whenever someone come to the store and just be like, hey, I want a game like this, it's like, well, it's these 2 or 3 and that's it.
Yeah. And they go,
sorry.
This is also $80. Do you want to pick this up? Yeah, because it's a rare game.
That's when you drop that like used game policy on them. It's like, hey man, just
also Nightshade on the PlayStation 2. Anybody remember on chat what Nightshade was? Props if you do. I know this dude knows. He knows. But if y'all didn't know, it's pretty much female Shinobi on the PlayStation. Shinobi was also released on the PS2. Like they re-released it as like an edgier, more anime-ish look. Hatsuma was the main character. They had this really cool thing where you chained kills, and then when your chain stops, he does the whole like all kills all of them in one swoop. It's super neat. And then if you end it, I think like they did runs where if you did it perfectly and the last hit was the boss, you'd insta kill the boss. Yeah, that was like the thing with this game, right? Trying to figure out how to do that. So Nightshade was technically the sequel to that. I do remember owning it and picking it up because I really enjoyed Shinobi on the PlayStation. And I actually got Fear 2 confused with what's that other game with the 2 girls?
Fear Effect.
Yeah, that one. I thought that was that game I was talking
about.
Fear Effect. But Fear 2 was the sequel to the game that really challenged like lighting and sound in first person shooters. So you guys check that out as well. All right, 11th, off we go. This is probably the golden age of PlayStation RPGs and Squaresoft. I had to throw Xenogears in there, man. It's too good. It's got mobile suits. It's got religion, martial arts, right? A guy that fights with 2 whips, right? And his mech also fights with 2 whips, which is super cool.
Of course. I mean, this is like G Gundam level. It's just like whatever character you have outside the Gundam, it is the same in the Gundam.
Pretty much.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like all the other Xeno games, like, Blade and Saga, they just don't compare to Gears. I don't know why. It just doesn't have the same feel when I played it. And this is one of the games I'm asking for to be remade. I don't know if it will, but this is definitely in their library too. I also feel like the fan base for Xeno, that's not Blade. Also, it's Nintendo's IP now, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's a little bit harder to kind of re-release. Just kind of like why the Saga series hasn't been remastered, because Namco doesn't really own the Xeno Saga series anymore.
Yeah, I feel like it depends on which one you played first, because I didn't have a PlayStation 1 like growing up. So my first experience with the series was Saga instead. Because I mentioned before, like I got a PS2 later in life, and one of the things I bought it for was Final Fantasy X, which wasn't my normal thing. I picked it up. Then that same buddy, that same roommate in college, had Xenosaga as well. So I checked that out, got really into the first one, found out there was going to be 7 games, and we know that never happened.
Yep. Yeah, and it's just a mess right now of who owns what. It's kind of like the Rare situation, right? Like who owns Rare, because Nintendo started it, then Microsoft owned it, right? Mm-hmm. And then it's kind of the same thing with Crash. Sony owned it, now Activision owns Crash. So it's like you have to follow the trail. So,
and hey, man, there's other stuff on these lists that we're going through tonight that it's kind of the same thing. Like, who owns the IP? Where is it? Like, it's in a deep dark hole somewhere, and we may never see the light of the day. So, like, hold on to that nostalgia as long as you can.
I see a game on this day that this is definitely chat worthy. But here's the thing: Dragon Warrior 4 on the Nintendo also released in 1990 in Japan on the 11th. Seems like they're trying to go for this theme of February 10 and 11 here. Final Fantasy 8 on the PlayStation in 1999, just a year after Xenogears. My poor wallet. EverQuest Online Adventures in 2003 on the PlayStation 2. Now, was that like a MMO, or was that like a third person? Like I don't remember.
It was online. It was online
okay.
Adventures. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, I mean, it's in the name, duh. But yeah, Samurai Warriors on the PlayStation 2 in 2004 in Japan. The Dynasty Warriors' cousin. Aliens Colonial Marines on the PC in 2013. Skullgirls Encore on the PS3 in 2014. Danganronpa Trigger Happy Havoc on the Vita in 2014. Samurai Warriors 4-2. That is confusing, on the PS3, PS4, and Vita in 2015. And also, speaking of action RPGs, Lost Ark on the PC came out in 2022. So, yeah, that's quite a day. So, Aliens, Colonial Marines.
Man.
I feel bad for that game.
I do too, but I feel more bad. Shout out to my buddy Rob if he ever ends up watching the VOD on this. Notorious in our group of friends because he's a huge fan of Aliens, huge fan of the entire franchise, was really looking forward to that game. And I remember we went to PAX, and that was one of the years that they were advertising that game, and they had like a playable demo, but they had one of the power loaders there that you can get into and take a picture with. Like, tons of money behind the marketing on that. Was going to be so good. And then you get in there and you see some of the gifts and stuff. It's just, to this day, we still give him a little bit of shit. He has plenty to give to us, don't get me wrong, but we still give him shit because he wanted that game to be so good, and it was so bad.
I do too, man. I loved the Aliens franchise. Like I said, on my A to Z gaming challenge, Aliens Dark Descent was the first game I picked on there. Surprisingly, not bad. I actually probably one of the best Aliens game I've ever played. Unfortunately, it's not a first-person shooter. I think the last time I played a good Aliens game was AVP on the PC when Rebellion made it. Right?
But if I remember right, wasn't there a 3-person multiplayer extraction shooter one that came out? I want to say a few years ago. That was really good too.
Team Elite.
Yeah.
Yeah. That one I heard was pretty good.
it's pretty good for the amount of money they had. Like that
Yeah.
game was a AA game, and you can definitely tell it was a AA game. But I feel like if they just had a little bit more budget, it would have been super clean, super good. Yeah, I actually I thoroughly enjoyed that game as well. But it was like, but comparing that to like a Gears or other third person shooters, it was a little bit jank for sure. But but they did a good job with the atmosphere and the feeling of the game, and the aliens feel, so pretty good. But yeah, Samurai Warriors 4-2. So Ace, I'm curious why you have that one highlighted, not the original one.
Well, firstly, I didn't see that one.
Okay.
I missed it, but I with the original Samurai Warriors, yeah, like the moment I saw that, I was like, wait a minute, this ain't Dynasty Warriors. What's going on here? Same company, but I decided to pick it up, and I got Samurai Warriors the same day that I picked up Onimusha 3.
Oh, Samurai Day.
Yes, it was, and I had a fucking blast.
Those are two great games to pick up at the same time, because if you get just tired of progressing through Onimusha, just pick up Samurai Warriors and just kick some ass.
That's
right?
basically what I did.
Yeah.
But Samurai Warriors 4-2 was interesting in that it was like one of the first. It was a Koei Tecmo game. It was a Koei Tecmo Warriors game that didn't use the Extreme Legends, expansion format that they were using up until that point. And part of it was they were actually in a bit of a legal tiff with Capcom.
Really?
And it was actually regarding, how they were using the expansions.
And that was that a copyright thing that Capcom started? I did not know that.
So yeah, because of that, they couldn't do the whole disc expansion thing for Samurai Warriors 4, so they just pretty much made 4-2 like a direct sequel without it being 5. It was still the expansion, but it was a standalone game as opposed to, you being able to like load up your save data from Samurai Warriors 4 or load up the game data from Samurai Warriors 4 to enhance what's already there.
Gotcha. Wow. Yeah, I was curious about that because when usually they change like formulas, you're like, I wonder what happened, right? Yeah. So, and a good observation. Nick, real quick, you play Lost Ark?
Did I play Lost Ark? Yes.
Yeah.
A ton.
Yeah.
No, I didn't play a ton.
Better than Diablo 4?
Different.
Okay.
Let me say it's different. The thing is that for Lost Odyssey, for me, it scratched two different itches. It did have that kind of like Diablo kind of feel to it. I was craving like an ARPG, but it had this big expansive world, and it definitely felt like MMO light-ish kind of thing, just because of the stuff they stuffed in there. It felt to me like, hey, I'm kind of getting this like Korean MMO spice mixed with a little bit of my Diablo kind of like point-to-point kind of gameplay. So I got into it. I still have some random like low level achievements on my Steam profile that are less than 1% of the community has. Like I got into it early on because I'm more of a completionist gamer, so I loved like exploring and trying to unlock the different like tomes and stuff and like the lore for the area. But it just got overwhelming. I hit level cap, and it's that thing that happens with a lot of those MMOs where all of a sudden you have the entire world and this scaling difficulty with your like item level, and it's just I didn't have the time. I went back, I want to say like last year, to give it another shot before Diablo 4 kind of came out, just to see if I'd still be into it. And it was, again, fun for like the first 20 minutes or so. It's just, I did not have the time to like sink into that with everything else coming out. I enjoyed Diablo 4 for what it is now. I don't know if at launch I kind of felt the same. I was really wanting more out of it. And like the up and down nature of the like seasons from one season to the next, just so different how much I want to stick with it. That's why I said it's like different for me. I like them for different reasons. I wouldn't really say they're kind of a comparison besides like obvious like isometric-ish ARPG vibe.
Yeah. No, that's good. I mean, I thought it was fun for what it was. It was free to play, I think. Yeah. I enjoy the character designs. Super cool, right?
Yeah.
Speaking of character designs, I chose Final Fantasy VIII on here because it's arguably my favorite Final Fantasy. It's Also, keep in mind, chat, the time it came out was 1999. I was a sophomore or junior in high school, and the game takes place at a high school in the future. So, also gun blades.
Gun blades. So edgy.
Yeah, and no, it was good. It was supposed to be like a theme of like romance, right? So you had the Squall Renoa thing and the Renoa Cipher thing and so on. So and like it was just like timing of when this game came out and me liking Final Fantasy was just too good, and this is why I have like the most memories of this. Over 7 actually. So
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I was gonna ask you, like, because there's still plenty, like, anyone who says they're a long-term fan of Final Fantasy, I always ask them, like, which one is your favorite? So you'd say 8's your favorite just because it came out of that time, or do you think like the shadow of 7 kind of kept 8 from being better regarded?
I think 7 was just so like a jarring change from the Final Fantasy formula, and a good change. It went from 2D to 3D, full motion video cutscenes, right? Great story, 4 discs. You got a lot of value for your money, right? And so Final Fantasy 8 was kind of like riding on that. So usually, like the next one always has to be better. So graphically, it was better. Story wise, I think in scale it was smaller. I also don't think it was more. I think it was 3 discs versus 4 in comparison.
Final Fantasy VIII was 4 discs.
Was it 4? Okay. Is to me like it just wasn't as like impactful because maybe I was already spoiled with 7 and I was like, oh, this is not much different. It just looks better. And I think the number one thing that really put a bad taste in people's mouth in this game was the what is it? The breaker system. Right, where the game leveled up with you depending how much magic you stole from the creatures.
Oh, yeah.
So you can literally be level 99 on the first area if you just grinded there forever. So it was like I know they were trying to do something different, and I tip my hat to Squaresoft for that. But you know, with stuff like that, you always end up with people that grind, and they usually like go to level 99 before the next story. I mean, a lot of people play Skyrim that way. They do everything else but the story. Right?
Shout out to everyone in chat, by the way, for calling out their favorite Final Fantasies.
Yeah, let's go.
I was one of those people that had no problem going into the training center and just getting ate up by the T-Rex before I finally got a couple wins, and I'm like, okay, I can get used to this.
9 was like if Final Fantasy had the character designs of Disney before Kingdom Hearts. That's my viewpoint on 9. Arguably still a great game. The combat was like Final Fantasy 6, right? And that's always a plus. Just like the story and character designs didn't do it for me because I liked 7 and 8 a lot. 8 was really good. It was like modern, and kind of like trendy and like more sleek. 7 just didn't have the graphics to pull it off as much, but that was my favorite Final Fantasy during the time. So, yep. And that's definitely like a podcast for a whole night. Final Fantasy. So awesome. Here's a game that is strikes a chord with a lot of people. On February 12th, Mario Brothers 3 came out on a Nintendo in 1990. I was 9 years old watching The Wizard. So that was
California.
You know what, man? When I was a kid, any video game or any movie that had a video game in it, I was always like, "That's cool! Look at that! They're playing video games in my movie." Definitely, The Wizard was one of them. So, and I think that was our preview
for me to watch.
No, it's not. Well, arguably a great movie. It was our preview to Mario 3 because it wasn't even announced yet.
I think it was that movie spawned so many people coming into the store asking for Power Gloves and like a case for it, like
and how like bad it was.
Your old reliable like pull cue case thing for that thing. Just mist comes out of it. Your buddy comes up just like on one knee.
Hey man. No glove, no love. That's all I'm saying. It was definitely like it made things look better than it should have been. You know, no one can play Punch Out with the Power Glove. That's ridiculous. That's all I'm saying. But yeah, other games that came out this day: X-Men in the arcade in 1992, one of the best brawlers I've ever played in my life. Japan. State of Emergency on the PS2 in 2002. Lost Odyssey on the 360. We've talked about that a lot on this channel in 2008. Flower on the PS3 in 2009. Harvest Moon 64 on the 64 in 1999 in Japan. Paper Mario on the GameCube. This is Dreamcast in 2001. Turok on the 360 PS3 in 2008, and
The reboot.
a little game called Jump Force on the PS4 on Xbox One in 2019 as well. So, yeah, Lost Odyssey, X-Men, Super Mario Bros. It's a pretty great day. Pretty great day.
It's a great day.
So I see Lost Odyssey on here, Nick. What you got?
Well, like you said, we've talked about it a lot. I think it's one of those games, and we had just mentioned before, like, who has the rights? Where is it?
Okay.
Like, why aren't we
Good
seeing
question,
a new
yeah.
one? Why maybe not like a new release? It's still available digitally. You can pick it up on your Xbox and play it. I still think it's one of those games that was criminally underplayed, especially if you're a fan of Final Fantasy, like we've been
I
saying,
agree.
because the guy who was the director was the original creator of Final Fantasy. So Sakaguchi Sensei worked on that with Mistwalker Studios. Like I said, criminally underplayed, so good, great story, adult. This story about this immortal who's watching like the world and his friends like die around him, so he closes himself off. So this big thing, I won't try to spoil it too much. Big thing happened in the game. You know, he's got to open up his shell. It's a very kind of human take on that. It's just awesome, great world, a lot of fun. It was like a throwback to an older style, that turn-based kind of RPG, slow burn,
Yeah.
deep story, lots of reading. But just
That
fun,
came out
great.
like Lost Odyssey. Like in terms of JRPGs, Lost Odyssey is in that same class as I would say, you know, the old softmax RPGs that came out around the PS2 and 360 era. So stuff, the older stuff from Hyung Tae Kim, the creator of Stellar Blade. So stuff like the War of Genesis, Magna Carta, Tears of Blood, and
Oh yeah, those,
Tears of Blood, Magna Carta 2, and Phantom of Avalanche.
Yeah,
those games always had great art. That's all I gotta say.
yeah.
Like they just stood out on the shelf for sure. And here's the thing: this is super important to Xbox gamers because they were trying to get the market share that they didn't have, and who better than to get the father of Final Fantasy,
Right?
Yeah.
So I give them props for like actually knowing what to do and how to get it. The problem is that like they were trying to sell more Xboxes in Japan at the same time, but like Xboxes were no more of a Western system,
Yeah.
right? So
Because they didn't have the games that appealed to the Japanese fan base.
Correct.
We
And
talked about it before, like the huge shift from PlayStation like 2 and 1 having all the JRPGs and RPGs shifted in that generation. It's just crazy.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, I just wanted to say, like, if somebody was like tasked with like a mission, sell more consoles in Japan, get more people to play RPGs in our system. Whoever decided to create Lost Odyssey with the producer was like, I know who to call, I know what to do. That's all I'm saying.
They understood the assignment.
Yeah, they understood the assignment. So this is why I want to, I like to give props where it's meant to be, and Lost Odyssey definitely deserves that. So, all right, 13th, we got Zone of the Enders, the second runner on the PS2 in 2003 in Japan. This one was a tough one. It was either this or Resident Evil Dead Aim. So I was trying to find.
Yeah. I don't know how you can choose between them. Remember we talked about that, like hypothetical. What Resident Evil game needs a remake or an update?
Hey man,
Dead Aim.
Dead Aim. Third-person shooter, yeah, why not remake that? Remake it over Code Veronica. People's gonna love that. That's all I gotta say. Sarcasm, if you guys don't even know what that is. But yeah, Zone of the Enders is the sequel to Zone of the Enders, just regular. And man, talk about turning the game to 11. Like Zone of the Enders, like the first one was technically a game that was designed to sell the demo to Metal Gear Solid 2, pretty much, because that was bundled with it. Because this is a Hideo Kojima game, by the way, guys. So a lot of the designs on this game, you can probably see in what's that new game he made, Death Stranding? Like the bodysuits and stuff, like resemble the character designs in this game, right?
Mm-hmm.
But this game right here, if you like mecha, if you like action and fast action, like faster than Armored Core and Gundam, this is the game for you. There's nothing bad about this game except all I can say is I would just wish they would just remake a third or make a third one or something, please.
Oh, and second runner, the scene where you run into Leo again.
Man, that hits the spot. Well, that's the good writing that Kojima does.
Right, but not just that, but also the fact that Leo is he's basically piloting the ship from fucking Gradius, man.
Yeah. A lot. Do people know that the Vic Viper? The Vic Viper is the ship that is the ship that you play in Gradius, and the character from the first game is piloting that mech or that ship in this game. There's a lot of like fan service in this game that people don't know about.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's some deep cut.
I met somebody that loves Gundam but doesn't know what Zone of the Enders is, and that's a shame.
It's like, oh, we need to fix that. We need to fix that. Right.
I just showed him the cutscene where, well, not a cutscene. It was a boss battle between the first fight between Anubis and Jehudi, and he was like, "That's the gameplay." I'm like, "That's the gameplay. Yep. that's how it works."
It's like that. Oh yeah, it's like that. Sold.
Yeah, 2003 was a weird time. Well, not really that weird, but like if you loved anime video games at that time, it was a good time to be a gamer. A lot of the games like kind of cross collabed, a lot of anime cutscenes in your video games. All right, other games that came out on this unlucky day. Oregon Trail 2 on the PC came out in 1995, and fun fact, I did not know there was a sequel. I thought you made it to Oregon and you're done. So wow. Did they go back?
More than one wagon went to Oregon, my friend.
Well, I mean, that's the first roguelike, right? I feel like those are all the attempts, all the tombstones you see on the way, But yes, the game Resident Evil Dead Aim on the PS2 came out in 2003 in Japan as well. Ghost Rider on the PS2 came out in 2007. We have God of War at home, pretty much. For Honor on the PC in 2017. Daemon X Machina on the Switch and PC in 2020. And Kingdom Come Deliverance came out on the PS4, PC, Xbox One in 2018. And Skull and Bones came out on the PS5 and Xbox Series X in 2024. I can't believe we're already talking about games that came out last year. It feels so quick, quick.
Like we talked about it. I want to say our first show back after the first of the year, 2024 had some amazing games, and once we circle around to it, we're still gonna be like, man, was that long ago?
Yep, facts. All right, Ace. I see Ghost Rider highlighted. Give me the tea.
So yeah, as was mentioned multiple times, Ghost Rider probably one of. Like, I think the PS2 era was around that time where movie licensed games and comic book movie licensed games were actually starting to hit their stride. Because
Marvel Nemesis.
I'll talk about the Marvel Nemesis in this household. But Ghost Rider, Punisher, and Incredible Hulk.
The second one, right? The Smash Ultimate Destruction. Yeah, Ultimate Destruction. Yeah,
incredibly good. Movie licensed PS2 titles. But Ghost Rider has a particular spot for me because number one, it was actually one of the first games. It was one of the first burned PS2 games that I got.
Ooh. Oh. Speaking of Skull and Bones, you little pirate, you.
Yar.
But after playing it, I actually went back and bought the game because I just really enjoyed it. But also, Ghost Rider, just the movies, the movies also have a special place in my heart because the friend of mine that burned the Ghost Rider game for me was a huge, like lifelong Ghost Rider fan. Like had a tattoo on his arm and everything.
I was hoping
we went to the drive-in and saw Ghost Rider like 3 times.
Nick Cage fan.
And unfortunately,
they're the same.
Unfortunately, said friend passed away back in 2011. So
he's riding.
Yep.
Hey, so, aren't they talking about rebooting that too? Ghost Rider.
Yeah. They were talking about rebooting that, and there was someone did some fan art that I saw earlier that had Ryan Gosling as Ghost Rider, and I'm like,
I can see that. Well, here's the thing: like the fact that they introduced the multiverse, and they, in Wolverine and Deadpool, they also introduced a bunch of characters. Like, I feel like, Nick Cage could show up on in the Daredevil show and the all the other Midnight Suns related characters show.
Well, they were talking. Yeah, I mean, imagining Nick Cage in any of the multiverse stuff, like imagine him coming out as his Superman as well.
Yep. Yeah, I saw his audition video. That was pretty wild. So, all right, Nick, Ace, Demon and Ex Machina. Tell us a little quick bit about that.
Now, Demon Ex Machina is. Now, I was playing it on Steam a while back and streaming it, but Demon Ex Machina is what I called the Armored Core game that I needed until 6 came out.
Okay, it's a filler game. Got it.
But I mean, no, it is definitely that game that will scratch that itch. Like, if God Eater could get you into Monster Hunter, or Code Vein could get you into, say, Bloodborne or Demon Souls, then Demon Ex Machina would be a very good gateway game to get you into playing Armored Core.
All right, that's fair. I own it, and I definitely want to sit down and play it. I didn't know it was out on PC, but that's good to know.
The story itself, for what I played of it so far, is actually pretty solid. It was enough to keep me invested in the game. So I definitely say sit down and give it a shot.
Okay, good enough for me. All right, moving on to the 14th. Another little hit from I don't know if it's a hit, but a cult classic from Square Enix now, guys, not Squaresoft. Look at that, and there's a little odd Ubisoft logo in here, so just keep that in mind. Drakengard 2 on the PS2 came out in 2006, sequel to Drakengard 1, also a game probably a lot of people have never played or know about, but we'll know the series near. This is technically the prequel to all those games, so keep that in mind. In
fact, I believe it's ending E, so like the 5th of the alternate endings in the original Drakengard
lead up to Nier
directly.
Yeah. That's spoilers, but yeah, it's only a 40-year-old game, but whatever, or 19-year-old game. Not a big deal. Other games that came out on the 14th, Lemmings on the Amiga in 1992. Hopefully Lemmings makes a comeback in some way or form. I know a lot of these older games have been coming back in a different form. So yeah, I would like to see Lemmings come back. That'd be great. Ridge Racer 64 on the 64 in 2000. Star Fox Assault on the GameCube in 2005. That sounds like a crime. Mark Echo's Getting Up, Contents Under Pressure on the PS2 in 2006. I remember that box art for sure. Grandia 3 on the PS2 in 2006. State of the Emergency 2 on the PS2 in 2006. Blaze Blue Continuum Shift Extend on the PS3, Vita, and the 360 in 2012. Ninja Gaiden 3, my pick here on this list on the 360 in 2012. Twisted Metal, on the 2012 version on the PS3, King of Fighters 15 on the PS4, PS5, Xbox Series X in 2022, and a little weird game that inspired by Ninja Gaiden called Wanted Dead came out on multiple platforms in 2023. Wow, that's a lot for the 14th. That's like what the day? That's Thanksgiving, Valentine's Day.
Yeah, man, contents under pressure.
Yeah, under pressure, like my script. I'm always under pressure. Mark Echo bought a bunch of shirts. I know he's a skater at the time, right? And didn't know is that the only video game Mark
Echo made? That was
the only
one under his brand that I remember, because that one was about like tagging and stuff, and like the collector's edition for that was like all about graffiti and tagging. Yeah,
I feel like it was like. I think I remember somebody, maybe Matt McMuscles playing this. He was playing, it was like tagging parkour. Yeah. That's what it was. It was a platformer with tagging.
Yeah, the group at Funhouse also played it. It was pretty funny because they did a whole skit about them being like the next Banksy with spray cans.
Wow.
My pick for this one was Ninja Gaiden 3 because, Ninja Gaiden recently came out with Ninja Gaiden 2 Black. They also released the PS3 version called Ninja Gaiden 3 Black. This one stood out a little bit different because it was so different from 2, where you were limited to, I think, your sword and a couple other weapons. Because the second one offered a variety of weapons, a variety of abilities. But this one really focused on just the combat. And a lot of people didn't like that. They felt like it was it was regressive, not progressive, right? Regression. So but like since it focused on the combat, there was a lot of that, and kind of sacrificed the story as well. So I do remember just kind of playing this like on a weekend, and I was like, oh, this is actually pretty cool. I think I have the collector's edition somewhere. It wasn't a bad game, but in comparison to the two, I just felt like it, really felt flat in comparison to. So I'm glad they remastered the second one. But yeah, King of Fighters 15, Ace. I know you were a KOF fan. Better than 14, and this is the beginning of SNK right here, the comeback.
Right. Personally, I would honestly say that 14 was definitely the beginning of their comeback, because I mean, it had been so long between games, especially between KOF games. It was almost like SNK just dropped off the map.
Well, yeah, they were shifting around Playmore, being owned by multiple people.
Right, but then they started up on 14, and yeah, we're not even going to sugarcoat it. 14 visually was rough. However, under the hood, it still played like a solid KOF. In fact, it took a lot of the best parts of 11 and 13.
I was going to say 13, yeah, for sure.
Especially, but it, yeah, 14 had content to back it up. And then after 14, SNK, like hit the ground running with Samurai Showdown. And it was because of what they did with Samurai Showdown, like pretty much starting to really find their, visual identity in this new generation of console hardware, that now, they pull out the stops with KOF 15, and it's like, okay, this looks like what 14 should have been, but they took all the lessons from Samurai Showdown. And now that further evolution from 15 is going to be showing up on April with City of the Wolves. So,
so excited for that one.
Yeah. So you could definitely say that KOF 15 was like KOF 15 for SNK, for modern SNK, for the reborn SNK. KOF 15 is their Street Fighter 2.
Their Final Fantasy.
Oh god.
I mean, it's the title that, they took everything that they had before, refined it, and with 15, boom, it broke out.
Well, I'm glad they're coming back, because we get to see more updated fighting games from them. So shout out to SNK. Last Blade needs to come out. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Yo, Last Blade and World Heroes.
Yeah. Oh my God! Don't even start World Heroes.
Man, I love World Heroes.
That's a good one. The characters in World Heroes are top-notch character design, in my opinion. Speaking of top-notch design, YouTube was released this day in 2005. That's such a long time ago, but yet we still use it in everyday life. Matter of fact, we're on there right now. So, kind of crazy how it's that old. But yeah,
and it kind of transformed the video game industry in its own way.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
And how we interact with the medium.
And how we get information. I mean, a bunch of stuff, really.
Yeah.
Really. All right, guys, the 15th, the last day. The Birth of the Vita releases in 2012. One of the most underrated handhelds of all time. My personal opinion, of course. Switch is way better, but I think for what it was during the time, it was really good. Just kind of expensive from what I recall, and not really meant for everyone, that's why it didn't sell so well. So any fun stories about the Vita? I know I told the chat about the PSP and my story with that, but the Vita was like, to me, just an accessory to my PS3, because I don't really like mobile gaming, right? And the games on here are kind of like smaller, petite versions of what's on the PS3 at the time and PS4. So I was like, why would I get it on the Vita? But it now turns to be the most like, what is this? Every collector wants every Vita game ever released because it's so obscure, right? That's kind of my experience with the Vita. Ace, you owned a Vita, right?
Nope.
No, you're a PSP guy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but yeah, this was like, I thought like it would have been a great idea if you could play your PS3 games on the Vita, kind of like similar to the Switch, right? Because it had the power, right? But it kind of just played weaker versions of games that were already out on your home console. And I think this is why it's like, why would I play it on my Vita if I just play it at home? Right. So, chat, tell me your experiences with the Vita, because I actually enjoyed it, but a lot of people didn't.
I liked it. I didn't own it. I wanted one because I never had a PSP, but every time they came in, I got to test them. Obviously, we had to make sure they worked before we could sell them, kind of stuff. But I really liked the way the Vita felt, because my biggest complaint about the PSP was only having one joystick. It reminded me a lot, and it was a bad joystick on there too. We had to replace those things all the time. But it reminded me of the jump from like the 64, only having one joystick to then having dual analog. So I loved the Vita's dual analog sticks. They both felt great. That reminded me, and this was kind of that era of Sony having really kind of like cool technical things they've done with like their controllers or their like consoles that didn't really get used by most of the devs, but it's like when it is used, you're like, that's pretty cool. Like with the Vita, the tactile, on the back side. Playing Uncharted on that, the Uncharted game that came out for Vita, you'd swipe up the back and it would help Drake just like climb through. Like no game really utilized that, but it had that in there. Of course, like any of the first party teams would take advantage of that stuff, or like what happened with Uncharted having to have 6-axis controls. Like they had to put it in their game somewhere, and the Vita had some really cool stuff that just wasn't really realized. So it was like a cool package, like you said. I liked it. It was just I'd never owned it. There wasn't enough for me to pull the trigger. There wasn't enough titles for me.
Yeah, and I think they didn't leverage that enough, because like, I had forgotten there were other controller options, gimmicks on the Vita. I mean, it was also a touch screen as well. A lot of people don't remember that, but it's just like
nice.
Yeah, I mean, you look at this photo now, the bottom model is the OLED, which is the first model, and the top model is the second one, which is LCD. Look at the brightness difference, right?
Yeah.
So and all I think it was also $100 difference at the time as well. The original Vita also had a metal shell. The new Vita version 2 had a plastic shell, as you can see on here. It's a little bit smaller, a little bit more rounded on the edges, but definitely lighter in quality and less. It felt cheaper. Let's just get straight to the point. It just felt cheaper for what it was.
It may have felt cheaper, but I'll push back just a little bit. That I'd say that I had less issues with the second iteration of the Vita, though, because the original Vita had so many pieces on that outer case that broke constantly.
Yeah, I mean, I believe that, and Sony has a history of making things proprietary, like their memory cards, and that made things super expensive for the consumer, which I hate. Right, and hopefully they learned that lesson, But yeah, I love the Vita. Re-release Soul Sacrifice, please, because we got Freedom Wars. Why not Soul Sacrifice?
Right.
All right, Sony. All right, other games that came out on the 15th. Street Fighter 2 in the US in the arcades in 1991. I was 10 years old, getting beat up by my cousin. Great. Star Wars X-Wing on the PC in 1993. I love how you write DOS, so I should say before Windows.
Yeah, because it was the DOS version.
Yeah. No, that's why I should say that on the DOS. Saga Frontier on 2 on the PlayStation 1 in 2000. A little quirky game called Disaster Report on the PlayStation in 2003. Tenchu Fatal Shadows on the PS2 in 2005. All right, here we go. Xenosaga Episode 2, Genseis von Gut on Bose on the PS2 in 2005. Speaking of another Xenosaga game. Ace. Marvel vs. Capcom 3, Fate of Two Worlds on the PS3 360 in 2011. Street Fighter 4. My God, this is fighting game day. Maybe because after Valentine's Day. Street Fighter 4 on the PS4 in 2016. Is that PS4 really? Is that like that feels
Street
weird?
4?
Yeah, that feels like a weird re-release. Is that No, Street Fighter 5? I wrote this, so that seems weird. I feel like PS3. I don't know. We'll look into that.
Street Fighter 4 is a PS360 era game. So.
Correct. That's why that seems weird, and it's only PS4 on here. Anthem came out on the PC in 2019. Metro Exodus on Xbox One in 2019, and Crackdown 3. Is that the one with Terry Crews? Xbox One in 2019. Power! Let's go! He brings the hype, man. Brings the hype. If there is a movie that needs to be made, it's Gears of War, and Terry Crews needs to be in it. That's all I gotta say.
As Coltrane?
Doesn't have to be Coltrane. It just be pretty old Terry. So that is
Terry in
that is
new character
this week in gaming news. Yeah, just name Terry. T-Pain. Call him T-Pain. That'd be great.
No, because T-Pain will actually play it because he's a huge gamer streamer now.
GQ, just really quickly.
Yeah.
Street Fighter V released on February 15th.
Okay, 5. I do not know how to. It's actually Street Fighter V, not 4.
Yeah,
so.
Excuse me.
My bad. All right, I stand corrected. All right, we're here for the next segment to bring out the news with here my boy Nick. Nick, I got a little something for you. I don't know if you saw that.
You have a what?
Got a little something for you, man. Ready? All right, here we go. So here's your little segment here. So
controller Bytes. Was it Ballectic Bytes? Bytes? We need to talk to the AI, man.
Controller Bytes. That's a Simon Says controller.
Yeah, or the controller that you give to your younger sibling, the Player 2 controller. I know that we really want to get to Ace and his tech tonight, guys. So I'm just going to run through some bite-sized content for you. Thank you so much for giving me this slide. We are going to start really quick with something that was kind of a cool thing. We've been talking a lot lately about online and dealing with digital content. And how about something cool that Valve is doing with their content? So they just revealed their new advertising rules. I don't know if you guys have seen this. We're on Steam pretty often. We play games on Steam. So now devs can't put rewards or unique content behind ads in any Steam games if they're going onto the platform, or charge any other devs for access to Steam features. So some of those games we play, like mobile games that end up on Steam, those kind of like, you have to watch an ad to get some more moves kind of thing. Something like that. If the game's business model depends on advertising, the devs have to remove those elements before they go on Steam for release. So clean it up a little bit. What do you think about that?
Mobile like practices, right?
Yeah.
Like more energy and shit like that? Okay, got it.
Yeah. So we also talked about Kingdom Come Deliverance. The second game is out. I'm sure you guys know this, but it has now doubled the peak player count from the first game. So the first game, its peak player count online, this game just released. The original game peaked at about 95,000. The new peak for this one is 233,000. It's doing
hasn't KCD 2 already sold like over 1 million units?
Yep. It has hit some sales marks already, but pretty cool to see. A game that's kind of that really deep, in-depth, single-player, like medieval RPG. It's doing just fine, guys.
Single player's back, man.
Yeah,
Love
no one tell EA. Don't let it see it.
Would have sold 2 million if it was a live service.
Yeah, right. Just mark. It's not needs more live service. We need more persistent worlds. GTA 6, its fall 2025 release window was confirmed on Take-Two's investment call. Unsurprisingly, the moment that was announced, their stock just hit an all-time high. Do you think they're ready for GTA 6?
Yeah.
They know what they're doing.
Do you two know what's happening tomorrow?
No?
PSN State of Play. We just heard that it is happening tomorrow. So keep your eyes peeled for that. We've already heard a couple of cool things. We already know it was released before the State of Play. But Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater, or Metal Gear Delta, if you want to call that little Delta symbol there, that is launching August 28th. So we do have an official date for that. Can't wait to jump back into that one. Civ 7, I know that's out right now. We've been talking about Civ a lot lately. There's actually been a leak, and we have seen some previously unrevealed details about some content, including several new civilizations and 3 possible new leaders. So that was a leak. That was data mining. So we're going to get some new information from there. Jumping into this next part, I just want to bring this up because we had some people in chat say it last time. A little piece that I want to call the rumor mill. Some rumors that we've been hearing about that's been in the news lately. Some really cool stuff. Again, as always, I want to say, take it as a grain of salt. We don't know if this is going to happen. Some of these have quality sources. Some of them don't. But some cool stuff to kind of spark that conversation with chat. See if there's something that you're interested. And the panelists as well, feel free to jump in. With the first rumor mill I want to bring up, we all love Nier. Apparently a Nier sequel could be announced this year. Games industry contributor Daniel Camillo via X and some past hints has said that that's going to be potentially coming out or at least announced this year. So new Nier could be announced. Don't know when we're going to see that game, but kind of a cool thing because I know some people have been chomping at the bit for that to come out. Now that same person, Daniel Camillo, has also said about has also mentioned some other games in this rumor that are going to be announced this year. A new Fire Emblem game is also rumored to be announced this year, with the game set to be a remake of an older title. Haven't heard which one.
Binding Blade, 100%.
Yeah?
I'm just making that up, but Binding Blade, 100%.
On that same one, two more titles you might know about. A new AAA Tomb Raider is going to be announced this year, potentially, as well as a new AAA Castlevania game. So I don't know about you guys, but do any of those four series sound like something that you'd be interested in hearing about?
Ace, go ahead, man.
Castlevania, definitely.
Yeah, I'm in on Castlevania. At AAA, it's definitely going to be 3D. Hopefully, it's not Lords of Shadow 3, but like in the same, vicinity. If they remade, what's the one with Hector?
Curse of Darkness.
If they made Curse of Darkness, I think that would be fire.
Yeah. All right. Well, those are the quick bites, guys.
Yeah, Fire Emblem.
Yeah, those are the quick bites. As far as we have for articles this week, the very first one I just want to bring up, everyone knows that PlayStation had an outage. Did you guys have anything to do with that?
Chat, confess right now if you had something to do with that. You owe me 5 days of PlayStation Plus.
Well, like you said, PlayStation is going to give some people some kickbacks for that. It was down for about 24 hours, making online games and features available after that time. They did confirm the outage on Friday and slowly restored the PSN services throughout the day, but a lot of people were super critical because of a huge lack of communication from Sony during the outage. It didn't help that people were definitely very vocal because I don't know about you two because you love this game. What was happening during that outage?
The Monster Hunter Wilds beta.
Yes. So as much as people were really not liking that Sony was being kind of, quiet about this all happening, this massive, outage for their service, good on the team over at Capcom for Monster Hunter Wilds because they are doing a second open beta test. Or sorry, it was extended
good for them.
because of that. Right, just because of those network issues. I really wanted to call out this as well. There was another team that was paying attention to the outage and was communicating during it. Krispy Kreme was giving away free donuts because of the PSN outage. So shout out to their social media team for paying attention, hopping up there. So on the 8th, they were giving away free donuts. It was only for 2 hours from 5 to 7, but they were there. They were keeping abreast of it. They're like, hey, man, come on down to Krispy Kreme. Free donuts because you're not playing online right now. You've got time.
I feel like surprisingly it's Krispy Kreme and not Arby's, because Arby's always do the cool social media posts about gaming. That's
right.
Why. Yeah.
Right. One other thing I want to call out, because we were talking about Rumor Mill and talking about some games that could be coming back out. There's news that has been broken lately, or at least a couple other outlets, about some games that never came out that were pitched about some of our favorite series. So from Insider Gaming, we found out that Insomniac had pitched a return to Resistance with Resistance 4. They had pitched it, and Sony said no.
They resisted.
They resisted. In the end, they did. So, also speaking of old series making a return on that same thread, there was news from Insider Gaming, IGN, a couple other places as well. Not only was Resistance 4 pitched and said no, but apparently there was also a sequel for Order 1886 that was pitched.
Okay, hold on. I understand Order 1886 being no, we're good because it didn't sell very well. But Resistance should have been yeah, we're due for one. What? Okay, I'm wondering what's going on in your head.
And say what you will about 1886, but it was basically a glorified tech demo. It felt like it looked amazing, and there was a couple of devs on those comment threads. There was a couple on Reddit that were calling out specifically the fact that, hey, I was working on this game at that time. Order 1886 came out, and they're like, we were told by the other devs, hey, check out those particle effects. We need to get that in our game. Like it became a benchmark to get it to look like that. So it had some things on it that like were blowing people's minds in the industry. It was like a corridor cover based shooter kind of thing. It was a cool world, but it didn't give you a lot. It was short, and I don't know, maybe a sequel would have helped with that.
Especially with the comeback of single player games, I think it's a good time, but I'm just curious to see what Sony, because they canceled a bunch of stuff already, right? And to be pitched new games and new ideas to be turned down, I kind of want to know what's their shiny red button to be like, all right, we need to come back now, make this up, make all this up.
Just interesting to hear, because I know that you were a fan of Resistance. You're talking about how we need to, have it back, but yeah, there was one pitched in the past.
Disappointing news for sure.
Yeah, so that was based on an interview with Kind of Funny Games. Price was asked about a favorite game of his that was pitched but never greenlit, and that was Resistance 4. So that wasn't recent, that was a while ago, but still, it's kind of a crazy thing to think about. One last thing, crazy thing to think about old things coming back. Do you guys miss E3 at all?
Not really. I never got to go, so that's why I don't miss it.
So I'm really glad you mentioned that, because that was going to be my question for the panel tonight. I don't know if you guys know the ESA, but they are the original organizers of E3, and they're back with a brand new conference.
Oh, really?
Yes, E3. Yeah, well, the E3 organizers are announcing a new gaming event. So they announced that it's going to be called the Interactive Innovation Conference, or ICON. 2 eyes.
Oh boy.
Oh boy. Well, before you say that, keep in mind, when we were working together, E3 was definitely still a thing. We really wanted to go. Back in the day, remember E3 was like industry only, invite only.
Yeah.
That's basically the idea behind this. So Icon, I'm just saying it that way because it's like double I, is an invite-only event that will take place in Las Vegas in late April 2026. So everyone kind of freaking out about potentially E3 coming back. It's not going to be the same thing. It's going to be like back to its roots. It's more about in-industry. It's significantly different from like the modern E3s that we all know. And this is going to be entirely industry-focused. It's more about networking. Yeah, it's all about networking and innovation and just like connecting on that level. So sorry if I got your hearts going a little bit faster announcing E3 coming back, or if you were fearful of E3 coming back, but it's going to be a little bit different. So with that in mind, do you have any favorite memories of E3, you two? I know you said, James, you said you wished you could have gone. I know I wished I could have gone back in the day.
I feel like now, if back then I was doing the same things now, if I was a content creator, I was really into, gaming online and just more attached to the social media aspect of gaming, as far as like making videos and stuff, I would love to go to E3 because now I feel like I would get the first scoop on everything. But now I can just get them. It's just so accessible. I can get that information anywhere and not spend money, right? But I'm not gonna joust on the. There's a difference of being there, talking to the developer, and at the time you got a lot of swag, free stuff from them, and the networking thing is big, especially if you're in industry. That's how games are made. That's how we got Kingdom Hearts. So I'm not gonna knock on that because that's how things get done. Okay.
What about you, Ace?
Honestly, I'm of the same mindset as I couldn't really miss E3 because it's not something that I was able to attend just as a regular hobbyist or consumer. I'm not since I'm not a part of the industry, and I always saw E3 as, even when they opened it to the public for a while, E3 was definitely more an industry event. It was more of an insider event. That's why I gravitated more towards paying attention to events like Gamescom or Tokyo Game Show.
Right, absolutely. And any one of my group of friends or people I've worked with in the past, one of the reasons I got into the industry and really wanted to be a part of it was because of conventions and stuff like E3. Because that was when, right after I dropped out of college from playing too much Counter-Strike back in the day, I started watching like
classic.
Yeah, classic. Oh, didn't need to go to that lecture. I have to go back and do my aim maps and my scouts knives.
On D Dust.
Right? Yeah, D Dust 2, please. but for me, like, I've always enjoyed that experience, and even when I got into the industry, I still loved going to those events. Not just like the behind the scenes, like the couple times I got to be an exhibitor at these things, but like getting to meet other professionals, the
Yeah.
excitement that's there was the main reason to do it,
Mm.
right? And I've got a thing here on my wall. I'll link it one of these days, maybe throw it up on our Discord, but I've got my passes that I've collected from all the events I go to. I love these events. When I was working at GameStop and I got up to assistant manager at the time, that was when they were starting to allow like more industry professionals, quote unquote, that opened to like the retail sector. I remember faxing my work information to the team at the ESA through GameStop so I could potentially go. Like I really, really wanted to. So I really wished I could have gone to E3 like in its original kind of like heyday before like the super modern ones. It's the same reason I lament what's happened to PAX. Like I love old PAX, those kind of like '09 to like 2014-ish kind of thing. I miss that. I miss that kind of excitement. So seeing that E3 is coming back and seeing that's going back to its roots to me more about like, creative visionaries. Like they've already said there's going to be people like keynote speakers, visionaries, quote unquote, from like Amazon, Disney, EA, Epic, Microsoft, Nintendo, Sony, Square Enix. Like, so there's going to be those professionals there. Great for them. Maybe it will be different and, allow another outlet for these creative things. And like you said, maybe we'll get the new Kingdom Hearts or the new thing that is spawned from this. But just kind of an interesting thing, like despite the fact they lost millions over the last couple iterations of E3, time to like buckle down, refocus, put it back out there as like an industry thing, that there is a gap for that. I mean, there's things like, GDC, there's going to be different events that kind of fill that gap in a different way, but we'll see how this does. But yeah, that's the news, guys. Just wanted a couple of quick things because I want to get to Ace because we need some tech this week.
And I think that's super cool, like that they're kind of bringing it back, because I don't know if Ace remember during COVID, how all the fighting game companies got together on a round table and said we need to get our shit together because our fighting games suck online.
Yeah.
And they all agreed we need rollback, we need to make it good because we'll die if we don't. And I think this is why we have all these collabs now. SNK's working with Capcom for the first time, right? We got Terry in every fighting game ever made. That's he's everywhere. So, and I think that's cool. Like if this is the beginning of that, like I want them to reset and kind of go back to be like, hey, we need to work together on this, and just get on the same page, because the industry is us. So I think that's great if that's what they're aiming for. All right, hey, thanks, Nick, appreciate that.
Nope.
Awesome. All right, Ace, what you got for us? This is your boy coming up here when it loads. The tech. That's all you.
So for tonight's edition of the tech, we're finally going to be digging into probably one of my favorite, well, not one of, my absolute favorite weapon set in Dynasty Warriors Origins. And this is out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, a total of 10 different weapon styles that you can have for your characters. But
let me get your video.
There you go. Bar none. My absolute favorite. Y'all know. Y'all know. It's the gauntlets. And as much as I had been looking forward to seeing, some sort of fist fighting or some sort of martial arts moveset in Dynasty Warriors, the gauntlets still surprised me with how they were implemented. In that, with these, you're not dealing with using your strong attacks or your charge attacks as combo finishers. No. This is taking it more. This is taking it more to the, Tekken and Virtua Fighter side of things. Because your strong attacks with the gauntlets, depending on what state your character is in, whether it's neutral, during an evade, during one of your attacks, or when you're on the defense, you can actually switch and transition into different stances. And every time you transition into a stance, you actually gather energy, which makes your next stance switch faster. almost instantaneous. So you can have a constant flow of going from your basic combat stance to one of your special stances for any of the unique attacks that come with that, and it can flow right back into your basic combat string. Let me pop into ye old weapon test arena, and I'll show you. So let's go ahead and let me show you all pretty much what the basic attacks look like for this. You know, seeing as how this does take place in China, expect the kung fu. But we're definitely looking at more, the Baji Chuan style, like Akira Yuki in Virtua Fighter. You've got your 6 basic attacks. The last attack on the string, does some good knockback, helps you create some space. Now, from neutral, you'll go into Tiger Stance. And with Tiger Stance, you've got your two different attacks. Using the standard attack from Tiger Stance, rapid series of punches. And you see that mark that came up on his back and how his arms lit up? That's how you've got the instantaneous transition into the next stance. Now, using your strong attack from Tiger Stance gives you a 3-punch series that actually is a projectile. Now, let's say, you're in the middle of a combo, right? And, you see an opening, you see one of the commander characters, and, you're ready to start, you're trying to go into an attack that, say, has more stopping power. That right there is when you go into your dragon stance. Regular attack from the dragon stance is, of course, the familiar shoulder check. And heavy attack from the dragon stance actually does the little it does a little stomp that creates a shockwave around you. Again, a little something to create space, so that way you can set up for your next attack. And what's more is that you'll find yourself using the dragon stance attacks pretty often just in the middle of your combos, because that's how dragon stance is designed. You're going through your normal attack flow, you switch to the dragon stance, hit somebody with the shoulder check to stop an attack that's incoming. You've got the energy charged up, so that way if you want to go into any of the other stances, you can do so almost on a dime. Speaking of, Serpent Stance is going to be our next one, and that's the stance you take up from a defensive position. And Serpent Stance has a couple of unique moves. So using your normal attack from Serpent Stance actually transitions you to aerial combat, so you can do a couple of quick moves and then drop back to the ground. Strong attack from Serpent Stance does a more wide range attack that actually pulls enemies in a radius around you, and then finishes with a launcher, so that you're still on the ground, but you can juggle your enemies while you're up there. And of course, since with this game you can jump cancel, again, there's that seamless flow from stance to stance, from ground combat to air combat, back to the ground, using your evades to, dodge attacks and reposition. Which, speaking of, Phoenix Stance is going to be the next one we'll be looking at if you take up your stance during evasion. Your basic attack from Phoenix Stance is a flying kick, which helps you cover plenty of distance, and again, is pretty much plus on block and on hit. So that way you can move into your next set of attacks, or you can set up for something like, say, the shoulder check from Dragon Stance to do a guard break or stop an incoming strike. Using your strong attack from Phoenix Stance does that wide range, ground burst shockwave. Another great launcher that also has wide range and can be evade canceled out of or jump canceled out of. The Gauntlet moveset is all about movement. It's all about getting that proper flow or finding your own flow to go in between attacks and in between stances to find the best way to control the space, control the crowd, control the fight. And then, of course, you got your big punch for the Muso attacks. And just like with each of the movesets, there's a list, a damn near laundry list of battle arts or special attacks that you can actually learn for them. But I'm going to show off my favorite right here and now.
Is that a power bomb?
Yeah.
You saw that right. That was a
Ancient Chinese technique.
ancient Chinese technique called the spine buster.
Yeah.
So yeah, the gauntlets are, again, just a great weapon for combat that is a lot more mobile, but still very hard hitting and very much designed to, in a way, it's designed a lot like, the basis of GQAzndood. I mean, literally, the way of the intercepting fist. You are putting your attacks in the enemy's face to stop them from what they're doing. And but again, once you get that spine buster, it's all over.
Conclusion: get the spine buster. It's over.
Yes. It's like in conclusion, command grab. Always command grab.
Now you did the chakram, the spear, the sword, and now the gauntlets. Is that all the weapons that they have?
Oh no. No. Like I said, there are.
Oh wow, okay, there's way more.
There
Okay.
is a list. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. We've basically got the first 4 weapons done. Now, one thing I am planning on doing is, switching up the content of the tech, moving on to some other games, so that way I can, show off some of the things that you could do in games that, you probably might have, games that you probably might have looked over or might not have had the chance to check out yet. But we will definitely be coming back to Dynasty Warriors to finish off the remainder of the movesets, because as hype as I am for the gauntlets, I know for a fact that amongst these 10 weapon sets, there is going to be something there for everybody that lays hands on this game.
Do you have a favorite at this point? Because you finished the game, and I know you're still like playing through stuff, and I can see you're unlocking stuff there. But do you have a favorite after all this time?
After all this time,
preference kind of thing.
Yeah, pretty much my 2 favorite go-to movesets: gauntlets and the staff.
All right.
Cool.
I heard it here first.
Is there one under? No, there's not one under Halberd. Okay, Halberd is pretty much Sky Piercer, right?
Yep.
Okay.
And that is the halberd is one that you unlock when you get pretty close to the end of the game, because of just how.
Yeah, it's literally Lubu. He's holding it with one hand.
Yeah, literally Lubu. When you trigger your ultimate Muso, when you trigger your War God Rage, your character does not run, he does not sprint, he just walks. And there is a constant shockwave aura just cascading off of him.
That aura, though.
Nice.
It's mad.
Awesome,
but yeah, that's that right there is actually going to do it for the tech for this evening. If you get your hands on Dynasty Warriors Origins, the moment you unlock the gauntlets, be prepared to shift how you see even, the gameplay in Dynasty Warriors Origins, just because, again, you'll have that, sort of free flow combat that you'll have access to once you pick up the gauntlets.
All right. Well, appreciate that, Ace. Thanks for the info, chat.
Absolutely.
Appreciate that. There you go. All right, shout out to Chad, who knows where that little jingle's from. That's like part of the quiz, right? To figure out where all these little tunes are coming from here. So awesome. All right, you know what time it is? It's always figure out. Well, hey, what are you guys playing? Has anything changed since last time?
Yeah, actually, on my end, I mean, I'll put it to you this way: this is like for the tech tonight. This is actually the first time I've jumped back into Dynasty Warriors in about a week now.
Okay. So you're telling me you're not playing Glow over here on the upper right?
Yeah. No, I'm not playing Glow.
Glow, whatever that is. Let's see what I got my syllabus. So right now I'm kind of playing. I'm going through the motions till the next release comes out. Right. I don't know what the next big release will be for me, but right now on the ADZ Gaming Challenge, we had just finished Doom on our last playthrough, and wow, it is a doozy of a game. Man, if I could give it a 10 out of 10, I would, but it's not a perfect game, right? But definitely 9 out of 10 for what it is. Still playing Marvel Rivals, still playing Diablo 4, just grinding it out on that season pass. I'm actually level 60 right now on that battle pass, and there's only like 90, I think. So I'm almost done. And usually what I do is I finish the battle pass and I stop playing it till the next season. So usually that's how it works for me. But yeah, next month, what's coming out next month? I feel Monster Hunter Wilds, right?
Well, I mean, this month is still packed with games too, like the tail end of the month.
Mm-hmm. Like I know, Pirate Yakuza is coming out pretty soon, right?
Yeah, the 21st.
21st, and then Monster Hunter Wilds hits on the 28th.
Yep, and then just because like I've been hearing so many good things about it, actually, in about a week, Avowed's out on the 18th.
The 18th. Okay. I'm saving my time or my purchase for first Berserker Kazan next month. Because that's the game that really got my attention day one, like play. Because usually I just buy the game and I put it on the backlog. But since I played the demo, and this is why I think demos are important, I was like, I have to play this game. This game is sick. Like it feels good to play, it looks good to play. So that's
I mean, there's also because we were talking about just like the throwback styles and stuff that's doing well right now. There's that Suikoden 1 and 2 HD remake that's coming out next month as well. Yep. That's the 11th of March.
Let's see, Xenoblade Chronicles Cross remastered hits next month.
Oh, Expedition 33.
Expedition 33 on the same day as City of the Wolves.
Oh yeah, I made an amend on my gaming list, chat. I don't know if you guys knew that. I took out Okami HD. Guess what I replaced it with?
What?
We talked about it tonight. I changed it to the order 1886.
Wow.
Because I've never played it. I never played it before, yeah. And I'm looking at the collector's box right here, and I'm like, I should just play that.
That's fair.
Yeah, I actually found this collector, the one where he's like getting pushed off the balcony, the statue. Mm-hmm. This was at some store for like $20. I was like, hey, let me pick that up.
Hey, man, yeah.
That's a good deal.
You know what, Ace, I'm kind of sad. You know, we talked about Kazan, but also same day, I'm upset you didn't mention we're also getting Venus Vacation Prism Dead or Alive Extreme.
Sir, that got delayed. I looked it up. I'm just kidding.
Did it? Oh.
Well, I'm not too worried about Extreme Venus Vacation because there's the updates that are coming out for the first Descendant. So I'm good.
That's all that matters right here. That's what you need, chat. You need all this right here.
I'm surprised that's not on your A to Z challenge, so you could stream that.
I already played it.
Played it again.
Plus, I have DOA Extreme 4 Scarlet. Right, that's one on the PlayStation 4.
I mean, I'm glad you played Doom because you do have to play Dark Ages this year.
Yeah. It's just one of those things. And I was talking about this with some guy at work. He's in a different department, but we talk about gaming all the time. Saw him at the canteen, and I talked to him about Doom 2016, and I was like, man, this is a game that really honors like the original, but you're just playing it on a modern stage, right? And it's one of those things where it's like I am so impressed with the spirit of the game still being there, but them being able to translate that in the 2020s or 2016.
Mhm.
And so and I heard Eternal even has more gameplay. Like I read that like your bullet drop, depending which weapon you kill, drops bullets for different weapons. So it forces you to cycle through your weapons more.
Oh, word.
The second game is relies so much more on that kind of like flow in battle because you got more mobility than
Yeah.
you do in the first game. You also have a shotgun that has like a hook attached to it.
Yep. I remember that.
So it's
That's
all
amazing.
about like movement and controlling like the battlefield. And then also like depending, you know how you do executions right now and you get just ammo pouring
Yep.
out. But when you're doing certain things in the game, you need to do that to get armor, ammo, and some extra stuff as well. So like it really encourages you to like go in and out of combat. It really does take it to the next level.
Mhm.
I would say it kind of has that same, I won't say issue, but it kind of has that same vibe of what we were talking about earlier with the game that came before it. Just was such a paradigm shift that it doesn't surprise you as much, but it still does some really good things. So
Yeah.
Eternal's kind of like playing Uncharted, like two
Two.
after one. It's like
Yeah,
it does it better, but it's different. That's maybe a bad one to use because I just love Uncharted 2. It's just like a
yeah.
peak.
Okay,
It's so much better. But it's
it's
just
like
yeah,
playing. It would be
More of the
like for
same,
you,
but better.
GQ. It'd be like for you playing Final Fantasy 8 after 7.
Correct. And that's kind of how I
yeah,
see that as. And here's the thing, like I played Shadow Warrior 3, right? And that game is hilarious. To me, that's like the new Duke Nukem. Shadow Warrior 3 is hilarious. And Nick, I don't know if you played Shadow Warrior 2 and 3. Have you played Shadow Warrior 2 and
yep.
3?
I have the power of the Wang.
Yeah, 3 is just like balls out ridiculous. It's
Yeah.
definitely insane. But while I was playing it, I had like Andre on there, and I think Fluffy was on there for a bit. But Blue Riotbot said that like, yeah, if you like this, you'll like Doom Eternal, because like it's kind of very similar, right? Where the bullet drops for different kills. It forces you to like, some weapons work better on certain monsters, right?
Yeah.
And then yeah, you're forced to just traverse the map. Like you have
Yeah.
to move. You can't just sit there and move and
Yeah,
stand still.
Eternal, if you had to like break it down into one word, that game is just could be called flow because it's the flow of battle, the
Flow
way you
Eternal.
flow. Yeah, flow eternal.
Yeah.
Oh, that
So
sounds
yeah,
like you have a
I'm ready
leak
for
and you
it.
got to get that looked at.
Yeah, I'm ready for it. I saw a little bit of gameplay from the Dark Ages too. I love the addition of the shield and how like you can parry things as a fighting game player. Ace, we love that the P word parry.
Mm-hmm.
So putting that in a Doom game is like, bro, do you guys play fighting games?
Yeah, just when you thought it couldn't get any more metal, it's a shield with a chainsaw
Yeah,
blade on the
chainsaw
outside
blade,
of it, and you have a gun that literally grinds up
like
skulls to
shrapnel.
shoot it at people.
It's so cool. Like I like the fact that you can throw your shield, lose your defense, right? But the fact that you throw your shield like stuns like the monsters, that's like, high risk, high reward. Like that's to me like a simple gameplay like mechanic that they just added, and I thought that was clever. And
Mm-hmm.
that's just, and now I just saw this on video. I haven't played it, I haven't seen anything of it, but I saw the trailer. I thought it was super cool that Doomslayer threw this shield at this giant demon, stunned it, but now like he has no blocking potential, but still kind of like paralyzed one demon down. So I think that's a good balance.
Yeah.
So man, these guys know what they're doing. It's like they made video games before and they just get it. And I love that.
It's a video game ass video game.
Yo, yeah, it's gonna be a
Check
shirt,
them out.
isn't it? It's video game ass video game. That's a video game ass video game. that should be a commercial. I love it. Chad, what are you guys playing over there? Miss Razzo, I know you're playing something. I think you wanted to play Cuisinier earlier. The order itself is the epitome of franchise that could have been a thing. Well, apparently it was, and then they said no.
Yeah, it really was. Like I said earlier, it was kind of like a glorified tech demo. There was not a lot. I think it was really short too, like a few hours. But super pretty, super super pretty. So many things that could have been good. I love the trailers for it. The world just seemed like it was going to be so cool. That's like dark, mysterious, like werewolves, Victorian London kind of thing.
Yeah,
And like I said, looked incredible. But you got into it, and it was cover based shooter, not exactly what you were expecting, and it was super short and didn't do much beyond the really cool stuff. Not to like put down what the team did. It's still like a really cool thing to look at. But yeah, I'm not surprised they passed on it, but just what could have been.
Yeah, I think at the time when it got released, a lot of comparisons to Gears of War were being made, and Gears of War just had more value as a game. Like it had multiplayer, right, and a really good storyline, co-op. Order 1886 did not have co-op, from my understand. No
No.
multiplayer, just pure narrative, like pure third-person game. So I think
Speaking of
like
Gears, sorry, not to
so-
interrupt you, but speaking of Gears, like the news of potentially getting that Gears 1 to 3 HD, like
yeah,
I can't wait for that. I really want to go back and replay those. It'd be really cool to do that on stream since you can co-op through the games. Like I miss the story of like the squad with Marcus and Dom.
yeah. What was their squad called? Alpha Squad, something like that. They were called something. They were like known for it. But anyway, yeah. And here's the thing: when Gears of War 1 got remastered and re-released, that made me want to play the trilogy again. So the fact that they're doing it again for 2 and 3, guess who's playing those games again? Me,
Yeah,
right?
and
Sometimes
especially
it's all six.
and especially if the rumors true where it's coming to PlayStation.
Yeah,
Like
that too.
that'd be awesome, and I don't know, maybe they'll let you. If I doubt, I'd be very surprised. Maybe not doubt. I'd be very surprised they'll let you do cross-platform, but that'd be pretty cool. You can finally connect a lot of those
Even
crowds.
even
It
if it
might
doesn't let
be.
you do cross-platform, just the fact that just the fact that they're actually, just the fact that it's going to be, likely releasing on PlayStation, that's expanding the player base. That's more people that get the chance to actually, play it that might have passed it up on the Xbox.
Right before E-Day hits, right?
If they do provide crossplay, I'm assuming they're going to do it on the Epic Games thing. Well, you make an Epic Games account.
Yeah,
Right.
well, it's definitely going to be like PC will crossplay, but
Yeah.
if you had PlayStation and Xbox,
Yeah, no, that'd be cool. And here, I have a question for you guys. Do you know if they have a Master Chief skin in Fortnite?
they do, don't they?
I don't know. I'm asking you
I'm pretty
guys.
sure they do, and I think they threw in like a couple of like Noble Squad as well. I
Okay.
think.
I think technically that's maybe the first game that you can play as Master Chief, Marcus Phoenix, and I don't know, a Sony character in some way together.
Oh yeah,
I was thinking about that.
Master Chief isn't. He joined Chapter 2, Season 5.
Oh yeah, that's kind of an obvious one. That's good. Yeah, the first skin I bought on Fortnite was Doomslayer, which is funny because I just wanted, and I wanted to, I quote, shoot kids in Fortnite. That's what I said as a Doomslayer. So, and my other two skins is the Terminator, the Arnold one, and RoboCop. It's like,
Nice.
Boomer alert.
Yeah.
That does not surprise me in the least.
Yeah. So if I want to play Fortnite, it's going to be skins that I like and enjoy, and the T800's coming after you, old children.
Coming for your daughter, Chuck.
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of funny. It was pretty funny to see the Xenomorph there for a while, getting chased by Ripley. So that was good. So that's like nothing scarier than a Xenomorph with a rifle.
So I started to like get back to watching some of the fighting game content streamers like Maximilian because I just take a break for a while there. But seeing like Conan the Barbarian and the Mortal Kombat DLC was hilarious. Seeing that, it made me really want to rewatch Conan.
And apparently that's actually his voice too.
Yeah, is it? Okay.
Yeah, because they couldn't get him as the T800 in the last game. But they had an Arnold impersonator do it, which is not bad. But now they actually have him as the voice, which is great.
As he's getting hit and swinging his sword.
Yeah, wow. And then the other game that he was like barely in, but should have been in the first place was the Predator game. He's actually a character in that game now. Hunting Grounds, right?
Nice.
Another asymmetrical game.
Okay.
Yeah. So to me, that no one plays that game. I tried loading it up because it's free on PSN Plus, and no one. It's so hard to get matches. But and that's the problem with that. Is like I still want to play that game, but yet I have to play it with people and like not bots. So it's just kind of unfortunate because I just want to be the predator and stalk people, and blow up if I die. So my power fantasy.
Yeah.
So that's about it. All right. Anything else for the good of the order? 1886. No, nothing. Chat, what you guys got? Yeah, that's what I thought. Fell asleep already, huh? What Missy said. Fell asleep with the cat on her.
But no,
Hey, I get it.
I was gonna say just really quickly before we head out. As for what I've been playing this week, outside of the First Ascendant, I've actually been going through a good chunk of my backlog, and I've gotten back into playing. Well, I started playing Monster Hunter Rise again, but I also got back into playing God Eater since the series
Oh.
just recently celebrated its 15th anniversary.
Okay. God Eater.
And
The third one, right?
yeah, God Eater 3 is even looking back on it now, I'm surprised at how good it is, even though I played through it, loved the hell out of it. I consider it. Well, no, I still think the first one is the best of the series, but three definitely raises the bar. But even just going back through and playing it and just, again, interacting with the characters again, getting back into the combat system, checking out the setting, it's all just, it is very much an experience that I would highly recommend folks that are, into games like Monster Hunter and Freedom Wars. Definitely pick this series up.
And it's like Value City right now. It's like probably less than $20.
Oh yeah, and if you're lucky enough to still find a retail copy of God Eater 2, that comes with a digital download code for the first one.
Oh. Yeah. If you I mean I feel like Namco, the official Namco store may have that. eBay is always a good one, but don't pay for overinflated prices, of course.
Exactly.
Go to price charting if need be to price match games all across the board.
Or
And
if
then
you're
if
up
you're
on
lucky,
eBay, my favorite discussion to people to have that come in that are trying to say like, "Hey, this is what it's listed for." Look at actual sales. Look at sold
yeah,
listings.
sold. Sold is a big one because people just do listings most of the time. So yeah, you're right. You're right.
And remember,
I don't have anything new. I have not had time to play much of anything. Been so busy. I have put some time into Mario Odyssey though, so I will say that because I was borrowing a Switch from a friend because I want to see if I can get a Switch for my wife and myself before we have our kid, and see if that Switch could be a thing. Oh, that's one thing I forgot to mention during the quick bites, but there was some speculation about the price of the Switch 2. The people at Nintendo have basically said they're paying attention to inflation and market values as far as like pricing for it goes. So they're very aware of the current market. So people are kind of saying probably going to be about $399. So we'll see if that holds true.
Wow. Well, I guess I have to stop thinking of the Switch as a handheld, but a console that can be
Yep.
a handheld. Yeah. So, well, I mean, people are going to buy it, and that's just how it is these days. But at least it's not $499. I hate
Yeah,
to say
and
that.
don't and at that same thread is for someone like me, one thing that was kind of reading some of those articles that stood out to me was there is zero plan to drop the price on the original Switch. So if I'm planning on getting one, I might as well get it sooner rather than later because it's not going to change.
Yeah. Keep it on Facebook Marketplace. People will usually have really decent deals on there. The only thing that I would argue for is have them turn it on, play it, log in, see if it's actually theirs.
Yeah,
But
luckily a history of working at a video game store.
yeah. There you go, Chad. If you ever buy something from a guy's car from Facebook Marketplace, definitely do all that before you go home with it. Just check everything, make sure it's like cleaned out, set to factory settings and stuff like that.
This brought to you by Pro Tip.
Yeah, free consultation. Yeah. Anything else before we call it a night? We had a great show today.
mm-hmm.
Like all the cool
Yeah.
music. I like the quick bites. That's it. Did somebody say Bloodsport when I did that? That'd be kind of funny.
We were talking about Bloodsport at the top. I think it was
Yeah.
Andre was dropping. He was watching Bloodsport, but put that down to watch us, which I always appreciate. Chat. Thank you so much again.
I was
for
gonna
chat
use
telling
the Dreamcast intro for you, just to let you know that.
Okay, well, I mean, there's always next week.
I didn't know. It actually didn't sound as cool as I thought it would have been. But
Well, and so that's the show after Valentine's Day, so maybe we can theme it.
also,
Your video game loves.
Also, chat, I think next show, which is episode 20, I will make an attempt to stream on another platform. So it will be available on YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook. I'll try it. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it's Facebook's fault because it did it last time and it was pretty jank. So apparently people are just having a hard time finding our stream because people are like, hey, I saw you have a podcast. I was like, how come you're not watching? I don't know when it's on. I'm like, I post everywhere. I don't know why you not found it yet.
Oh, that's right. I muted you years ago.
Yeah, I'm gonna pollute it everywhere now because people are interested. People know we exist. Maybe it's a time slot. I don't know, but I'm getting more data on that. So I'll keep you guys informed. But yeah, we are going to be streaming on Facebook, on my Facebook page, which I will post on my socials. So just note that as well. But with that said, let's just move on to the end, as always, to our outro. What is my song here? Should we do Dudley or the classic, the Duders?
Yeah,
Mr. Razzo, as always, you can watch the VOD later and then get back to us and see right when you said, hey, this is where I woke back up. I've got 2 cats. They're both sleeping next to me. I don't keep them on me because then I will fall asleep.
Well, she does that. She does that in movies too.
Yeah.
All right. I'll do Dudley. It's jivey. It's a jivey night. And apparently Jagos, or Fluffy, really likes our boxer-themed music, apparently. He's
yeah.
One of them they were saying that, like, oh, you're always using boxer theme songs, boxer related, Punch Out, Dudley, right? And I was like,
the tech was Punch Out tonight.
Yeah, I never noticed. So, but yeah, all right. Anyway, that's a wrap for Class 19 on the Gaming Academy. Remember, gamers, life is just one big open world RPG, kind of like World of Warcraft. But you got quests to do, things to conquer, gear to upgrade. And sometimes, you'll get stuck at a water level or a temple, one of those things, but never rage quit. Never, ever rage quit. Every setback is just XP toward leveling up. So whether you're grinding through your goals or taking a much-needed side quest to chill in this heavy winter day, night, evening, keep going, keep growing, and always keep that inventory full of snacks and good vibes. For me, it's Sriracha Doritos. Freaking awesome. Shout out to Doritos. Big thanks for tuning in. Be sure to hit that follow button. Catch us live on YouTube and Twitch. And in the future, Facebook. Until next time, stay curious, stay bold, and always save your game, memory card or not. Otherwise, you'll be playing that first stage, the Yellow Turban the Rebellion, 27 times on your PS2 like I did back in 2000. See you in Class 20, guys. Have a good night.
Class dismissed.